how would an individual go about opening a company and allow it to be a part of the tribe so that they could get contracts?
Well, any venture by the tribe would have to be approved and initiated by the council.
So if I wanted
Any tribal member who wanted to perform their own commercial industry is welcome to perform their own commercial industry, but with the full knowledge that there is a difference between an individual commercial enterprise and a tribal commercial enterprise. Okay? Now, would they be able to do business with the tribe? You bet. Just like the tribe can do business with other tribes. We could enter into contracts with other Native American tribes in the United States for different purposes. The union between the Native Americans through the Native American Congress is almost like a cooperative where the Native American nations conduct business with each other. You know, one Native American nation has a lot of salmon on their hands that they need to market, and another Native.
Now, abuse. My son-in-law works for a large company that does computer services, and they have a contract with the Department of Defense. Now, the way they formed their company was that they hired an Indian tribe and used their privilege under their name while they're actually doing the business. That's what I'm afraid of when we do this in Guam. Somebody, you know, there's always some scrupulous tomorrow that will use the tribe's name to make extra money on the side.
And unfortunately, you're absolutely correct. There are unscrupulous people in every race. And I challenge any race to come before us and tell us that they don't have unscrupulous people. Because we'll teach them the meaning of the word saki. That would be dependent upon the Constitution. Remember, we're starting with a blank page. But we have 60 years of experience behind us when we start to fill out the black and white of that blank page. We already know what to expect from ourselves. So will we be able to make sure that our Constitution does not allow that type of leverage and that type of conduct within our future government? I believe we will. Which is why I'm more concerned with picking people initially who have the heart to place their people before themselves than I am concerned about picking people with PhDs to sit down and take ownership of that Constitution. Because what we're doing is for the future of our children and our grandchildren. It's for their benefit. It is not for our benefit immediately.
And I ask you to be picky, be very picky, because the experience with back in Palau is the same thing. If in our Constitution, if we're not solid and picky with who makes the Constitution and stay by that Constitution, they can abuse that. Like you said, you know, there's always a bad person in the. All races have bad.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. But
Take, for example, a domestic helper in Palau. The only thing come to Palau is domestic helper under contract. Right? Your contract is over. You cannot switch over to another employer. No. You go back home, you start from ABC again and reapply and everything because you cannot continue your contract with another employer, another employer, another employer. So be picky. Be picky, be picky, be picky.
Well, personally, I think there's more than enough people on this island. I really don't see a need to,
Somebody with a heart.
to start addressing domestic and employees when
No, I'm just an
importation.
example,
Yeah.
because in our Constitution, before we change one, it has to go to the plebiscite. From the plebiscite, the voters vote, then they want to amend this, and then you can amend it don't vote for it, you cannot amend our constitution.
Which is a wonderful idea, which is one of the reasons why I love and support democracy so much, okay? Because it places the responsibility in the hands of the people.
Yes.
It places that responsibility squarely in the hands of the people, and not in the hands of any one person. For any one person or any group of people to impose their will upon a peoples as a whole, that's not a democracy. I don't consider our Organic Act government a democracy, because they impose their will on us. We do not impose our will on them, and we are the people.
Doesn't the Constitution say "we the people"?
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, we're not constitutional citizens, so it doesn't pertain to us.
So what is the supremacy? What is the supremacy law then you mentioned earlier?
The supremacy law, or the supremacy clause of the Constitution, delineates the levels of power of the different laws within the United States. Under the supremacy clause, treaties between nations ratified by the Senate become a law within the United States, okay? And that becomes the #1 law, followed by the Constitution, followed by federal code or federal laws. That's what the supremacy clause states.
Does the supremacy clause apply to us
Certainly.
as statutory citizens?
The supremacy clause applies to the treaties that the United States entered into with the United Nations and with the European nations in the Helsinki Accord, making the Charter of the United Nations a law of the United States.
If a Chamorro tribe member is married to a different race altogether, would they still enjoy the benefits of the marriage?
The tribal member would, yes, and their spouse would, as long as they were married. But remember, race is determined by blood. Just like it's not determined by time, it's not determined by marriage either. It is determined by blood.
So they wouldn't be tribal members, but like...
Would they enjoy the same benefits as the tribal member that they were married to? Yes, they would while they were married. Would their children be able to register as tribal members? Yes, they would. Because they are members by blood. They are a member of that race, of our race, regardless of who their parent was married to, who was not Chamorro. Regardless of their race, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that they would have the Chamorro bloodline and would be eligible for tribal membership. And yes, while they were married, their spouse would enjoy the benefits, with the exception of like IHS, okay, Indian healthcare and educational benefits. I'm talking about local benefits within the tribe. Okay, federally funded benefits is a different story. The feds are pretty strict about who is eligible for those benefits. And if you are not a blood tribal member, then you are not eligible for those federal benefits. But tribal benefits, yes, and to what extent, again, that would depend upon the tribal council when they write the Constitution. In accordance with an executive order, the United States military, when dealing with any representative of a Native American tribe, has to deal with them on a government-to-government basis, not on a government-to-individual basis. So yeah, any tribal member, it would behoove you in the future to carry your tribal identification card with you all the time. It's better than American Express. Or it will be.